What's the point? What? Pardon me. What's that? What's the point? Show!
I'm Seth The Point, and you're listening to the What's the Point podcast. And I have a very special guest for y'all today. You may ask special. I'm saying how special. I say professional athlete special. I say MLS pro special. He shook Messi's hand a couple times special. Toronto FC's only number 19, Colby Franklin. As we know, you've been playing for TFC since you were a kid, like super young. You've been in their youth program since you were, 7 years old? Maybe even younger. You've been going at this soccer thing your entire life. So what made you decide this is soccer? This is what I'm doing. Like, what made you decide to go all the way in soccer?
Well, as you know, because, we're family, our family is super big into sports, and that was kind of the basis for it for me. I was put into many sports when I was younger. Hockey, soccer, did a lot of basketball in my free time, baseball, at everything under the sun we were doing, and super active. But something about soccer was really touched my heart. I just enjoyed playing it so much. And me and Kaylin were just playing a lot in the backyard. And being good at a sport obviously makes you want to play it more, and you have that confidence when you're playing it. So I had that initial talent, which is really good. And yeah, as you said, I've been playing since I was the age of 3, and my career has gone through a long journey, but majority of this back half has been with Toronto FC, and I couldn't be happier.
And so just being good at the sport really pushed you to, want to play it more. But did you ever doubt that you'd become a professional? Did you ever think that you wouldn't be able to make it?
Of course, I think, majority of people do have that, unless you have that God-given ability, and, you fly through the ranks. I think there are definitely times in my career where I had that imposter syndrome and felt like maybe I'm not good enough, but the love for the game just pushes you forward, and confidence in your abilities. And there's so many variables and factors that go into the sport, luck, timing, coaching, teammates, location, et cetera, et cetera. So I know so many people that may have been more talented than me, but maybe their cards didn't fall in the right spot for them at that moment. So I feel very fortunate to do what I do and do what I love for a living, and I never take it for granted. And I'm hoping to have as long of a career as I possibly can.
So you could say it felt a little bit like a gamble when you were going through it. Was one of those big moments for your career when you moved to Chicago with your family?
Yeah, for sure. There's obviously, the timeline of my career and everybody's career has, canon events, as you'd like to say. So I think, obviously growing up as a kid in Toronto and playing here, and then myself and my family moved to Chicago for my father's work, and I was kind of worried about what team I was going to join because I was so close to everybody on my Toronto team. But at the time, they did not have the MLS Academy system, Toronto FC, for my age group set up. But in Chicago, for Chicago Fire, they did. So I was able to try out with about, 120 kids on one field. It was a one-day trial, very nerve-wracking, very... one of the scariest moments of your life, honestly, because you want to make the team so bad, but you see, 119 other people out there on the field, and only a certain amount of coaches watching. But I was able to, make that tryout on that night. And I think me, along with 6 other guys, got selected out of the 120, and that we got, that started my journey with Chicago Fire and their MLS Academy, and an amazing journey it was. It was incredible for my development, the coaches there and the system that they had. And it kind of, set me on this path where I was like, wow, this is what I want to do with my life.
So that confirmed to you that you can be a soccer player, you can be a professional, right? What was the emotion? I don't know if you remember, but being one of the 6 of the 120 people, like, what did that actually feel like?
Well, yeah, I mean, in the moment, it doesn't really hit you until later. Like you just gone through this whole trial process, like a few hours on the pitch, and then someone comes over to me and my mom, and they're like, "We need you to stick around just a little longer." So you don't know what that means, and then they bring you into the stadium, which was right beside the field, and it's me alongside a few other guys that I still know to this day, and they brought us in, and yeah, the emotions were very high, and I was very excited, obviously. And yeah, like I said, that started a 4-year journey nearly with a great organization.
Yeah. So a lot of respect to the Chicago Fire. What was your time with Team Canada? You played in the U17 World Cup for Team Canada. I have your time with the Chicago Fire. How did that impact you in your career?
Yeah, so my time with the national team came a bit later after that Chicago story. That was, between 20, came back to Canada, and I was playing for the TFC Academy at that point. And this is in 2018, 2019, the whole process. And playing for the national team, anybody that, gets to wear that Canadian crest or, work for their nation knows that it's something special, no matter if it's, at the highest of high levels or the lowest of youth levels. It's something special. And so I took great pride and joy in wearing that Canadian crest, and it definitely shaped my career and my goals for what's ahead of my career, wanting to put that badge on once again. And it was a pleasure and an honor, and getting to go to Brazil and play in a World Cup alongside a bunch of guys that I call my brothers was really special.
So you would like to try and play for Team Canada again? That's one of your main goals going forward?
Yes, so that's one of my goals, of course, for the future. I think just like every Canadian professional soccer player, trying to play for the national team is definitely a goal. And, the World Cup is coming in a couple of months here, and the national team has laid a groundwork and a foundation that, proves how good of a nation we are. And we have such a good national team compared to what we used to have. And I can't wait to see what this World Cup and the future looks like for this team.
Yeah, because MLS is going under international break, a lot of international breaks this year for sports. Going into it with momentum, are you excited to watch your country and other countries play on your home pitch? Is that going to give you any pride at all?
100%. Yeah, it's really quite surreal, because when we're playing in the stadium right now, they have stands up, and you can kind of visualize and picture what that's going to look like with a fully packed out stadium. And I just know it's going to look incredible, and the Canadian fans are going to love it. Definitely gives me a sense of pride and joy, and that extra motivation to, keep working and try and get myself into a position where I can represent the country again.
That's beautiful. I think you fully have the ability to do that. But what are your goals? Speaking of, what are your goals coming up for the rest of this MLS season after the international break to try and push you to get to that point?
Goals, I'd say from a team perspective, just trying to be the best we can be. Obviously, we have a long home game stretch leading up to the World Cup. We have 7 of our 8 games before the World Cup break are at home. So trying to pick up as many points at home and, continue that momentum that we can get from our fans, and get as many points as we can and finish in a playoff spot this season, and then go for winning that MLS Cup and as many trophies as possible. Sorry. And from an individual perspective, trying to get as many minutes on the field and, display my quality as much as I can. Continue to be a good teammate, continue to, put my all into training every single day. I think just being the best professional I can be, and then, taking my opportunities when they come are the main goals for me.
Yeah, you and TFC showed a lot of promise at the end of last season, and y'all are showing a lot of good work at the beginning of this season. But if you could do one thing to show how much of value you bring to that team in your next 7 to 8 games, what's that one thing you'd really want to get done?
I think, knowing myself and the type of player I am, just exuding a lot of energy and a lot of fight. Everyone knows I'm not like the biggest or tallest player, but you can't really tell that on the field. I play with a lot of passion and energy, and trying to show my quality on the ball, as well as being disruptive on the defensive end. So just showing those qualities of mine, and then of course trying to help the team in the assists and goals category would be great.
I can see it when I watch you play, when I see you on TV, or when I'm at a game and watch you on the pitch. You look a lot bigger, you're a lot more physical, you show a lot of power when you're playing. But have you ever thought, could I bring this kind of energy to a different team? If you were to play somewhere else in the MLS, what's a place where you feel like you could fit into their program?
That's a great question. Obviously, as a professional, your mindset wanders and can, go and look at other places and think maybe I could fit in there. And, especially if you're not playing as much, those thoughts can run through your head. But I think for me, I've done a really good job of training my mind to stay present and look forward at what's in front of me. And I think just giving my all to, the team I love, the team I'm on, is what's best going to suit me. And then the cards can fall where they may in the future. But I think, TFC is my main focus. And if another team does, pop up and show interest in me, that'll sort itself how it will. But I think, that's where my head's at right now, just focused with the team that I'm on.
You're TFC all the way.
Yeah. Lots
Lots of loyalty. You've been doing soccer your entire life, right? Since you were 3 years old. How do you balance it? Because everyone thinks, you're just training. You're training, you're in school, you're doing online classes in university. What's it like truly balancing this professional, non-professional life that you're living?
That's a great question, Sam. I'd say that balancing these professional lifestyles and the things are definitely not easy all the time. Sacrifices need to be made, and they have been made all throughout my life. I think every professional athlete can attest to that, there's going to be things that want to lure you in and say, this is all right, and you can do this just this one time. But making sure that you're grounded and you hold your own and you know what's best for your path and where you want to get to is the main thing. And, sacrifices are a part of it, but also everything in moderation, like if things are outside of football, in my instance, are helping you mentally, hanging out with friends or watching a movie or going on walks or, you know, eating a certain way. Those things can help you on the pitch as well. So just finding your niche and what's best for you and will help you in the long run.
Yeah. So you're recommending that if you were to try and go pro or chase your dreams, whatever those dreams are, gotta balance it with hobbies. I've heard rumors that you were a bit of a golf guy. Do you have any other hobbies besides golf?
I wouldn't classify myself as a golf guy just because of what my handicap is at, but I do love the sport and try to play as much as I can. But yeah, for sure, I think hobbies are essential. And, you know, as much as you are on the pitch and around the locker room and with your teammates, there are times throughout the day where you're doing whatever you want to do and recovering. So things like, you know, other sports that aren't too taxing on the body, like golf, or, you know, I enjoy watching movies. I enjoy playing board games and cards with my friends. So those are things that, you know, make me enjoy in my life off the pitch, and, you know, I look forward to as well.
You stay entertained, and also you're a very smart guy. So bringing it back, U17 World Cup, before you joined TFC 2 and eventually TFC 1, how'd you balance playing for the academy and doing high school and then now college/university? What's that like?
Another great question. That was definitely unique to me, just my situation where thankfully, my school is just around the corner from where I lived. And I was able to get out of my classes a little bit early so that I could catch a bus to take the TTC up to the facility. Then I'd train. And on my way back from training, I'd try and do my homework, but do my homework on the way up from training. And then basically, by the time I was home from training and taking the TTC back, you know, that long way back to the East End, I would have to go to bed and do it all over again. So that kind of ties into the sacrifice element where, you know, if you're going to be all in, you got to be all in. And my life really just revolved around, you know, my studies and schooling, and then soccer, and then kind of repeat.
Would you say that is having a professional mindset from the onset? Because to me, that sounds like so mature, including for someone who at one point was so young. You are still so young, who is balancing a sport that I've heard can be very stressful. It's very calculating, right? And it's very hard to go pro, and balancing high school when I know you were a very smart guy. You got into a good university. You weren't doing any easy classes either. I know that you were putting all your effort into your schooling. Do you think that is you having a professional mindset? And how did you get a professional mindset so early on in your career and in your life?
Yeah, I do think it was me having a professional mindset, but I wouldn't attach that all to myself. And, you know, that's all because of me, and I did it. It's definitely because of the support system that I had around me. You know, great parents, great siblings, great cousins and grandparents and friends that, you know, understand what it takes to do what I wanted to do. And, you know, give a big shout out to my parents for putting me in the position that I am today and helping me with, you know, all the morals and values that I, you know, continue to have today that have sorted me out for success.
And I think that's beautiful. You know, a lot of people don't necessarily always go back. Some people don't have that. And it's great that you're crediting your family and your support system. Do you have any advice on how to keep that support system as you get older and push further into your career? How have you kept up with your family, friends, and siblings and cousins and all that?
Yeah, I think, you know, it hasn't been much effort for me to be honest, because from day one, before I was born, family was just such a massive part of my identity. And, our family had been so close before we were even born. So, just continuing to seeing what goes on around you as you grow up, and, you know, embracing all of those traditions and the love that we share, and catching up with one another and being around each other as much as possible, was easy for me, because that's what I'd grown up on, and that's what I still love to do. So,
A good culture.
yeah, a great culture. And I think, I was very fortunate to have those things in my life. But if other people do not, and they don't feel that in this current moment of time, it's never too late to, make family. Even if you don't have family around you, you can always make it. And I consider all my friends and teammates that I have created bonds with as family. So, those people are just as important as the ones that, help put you on this earth.
That is, you're hitting with these beautiful sentiments here, Kobe. I ain't gonna lie, you're coming out here with some fantastic answers to my questions. And that one was beautiful. That one made my heart feel a little fuller. I'm not gonna lie. To get a little more lighthearted here, you have an easy connection with the family, but you do travel pretty often, right? So you've been all over the Americas, and you've been to all the soccer playing cities in Canada, besides Toronto, because Toronto's obviously the best, TFC for life. Which city is your favorite to play in?
That's a great question. The MLS has such good infrastructure, and obviously, Canada and America have such great cities. I think you can look at this question in two parts: either like my favorite city as a city, or my favorite like stadium to play in, because there's some unbelievable stadiums and soccer specific stadiums around the league.
Let's go city, then stadium.
Yeah, well, stadium, I think, Cincinnati, their pitch is amazing, and their stadium is, new and great. Columbus has a very nice stadium, and pitch and atmosphere. There's obviously, Miami, the Heat, they have a good pitch, and the fandom is Messi there. And then as for city, I'd say I'm a big city kid. Lived in Toronto and Chicago. I think Chicago is one of my favorite away trips. LA is one of my favorite away trips. New York, I love New York as a city. So there's so many great spots that we're fortunate enough to get to go to each year.
Yeah, those cities and those teams, you play against them, you visit them. Which ones do you kind of hate the most? What rivalry did TSC have, or do you feel you personally have against some of these teams that you go up against? What teams have you built a little bit of animosity towards?
I think, of course, like the one that comes to mind is Montreal. As a Toronto kid, and the 401 Derby is something that's, lived on a long time. So Montreal definitely doesn't hold too much of a place in my heart. Vancouver is another Canadian team, so it's kind of an automatic rivalry there. And then, across the league, I think everyone on my team kind of knows the lore over the past couple of years versus New York City FC.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the few I'd say.
Bono doesn't like New York in soccer, in baseball, in hockey. No one likes New York, and that's pretty understandable. But You love the city. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. But that rivalry, do you feel like, how does it feel to win in one of those rivalry games? You know, when including it in New York, if you go to New York, play at their pitch, how does it feel to win? How would it feel, or how does it feel to win in front of their home crowd? What does that do to you as a rival and as a professional?
They'll speak to rivalries just in general, because off the top of my head, I don't know our away records versus the New York teams. But, you know, for example, playing against Montreal home and away and beating them, you know, it's a great feeling. Obviously, those games mean that much more, and you really want to do it for the fans and the bragging rights, you know, for your city. So I think those games always mean a little bit more, and it's really sweet. It's during the week and during the win, after that, you have those bragging rights, and you know that they don't have your number.
So what milestones do you think you're going to reach with such a winning mindset throughout the rest of your career? Like, what do you 100% guarantee that you're going to be able to get done, you know, before you retire at, you know, 40?
Like LeBron? I'd love to retire at 40. That would be an insane career.
I can see it in my mind's eye, you know?
You know, maybe with the advancing technologies that we have in the world, that could be possible for sure. I'd say that milestones for me, I think, of course, that we talked about is, you know, playing for the national team and making my first cap for them, and, you know, continuing my national team career would be amazing. And playing in maybe not this World Cup, but the next one in 2030 would be one of my main goals. Yeah, I think, you know, in the present, winning trophies and doing well with TFC, it's been, you know, a tough couple of years, but the team has really turned around. There's a special feeling around this group. So, competing and doing well with this team. And then for a future, just, you know, doing as much as I can on the pitch in order to help myself succeed, and, you know, hopefully reach the highest levels of the footballing world, and getting to Europe and playing in those games that I've watched my entire life is one of my main goals.
So that was going to be my next question. If you could play in Europe right now, would you?
Obviously, depends on, you know, situation. Depends on country, the club, the coaching, the formation. There's a lot of different variables that go into, you know, each situation that every professional player is in on each specific team. So I'd have to look at those things before I give that answer. But of course, playing at the highest level in Europe is a goal of mine and something I've looked forward to my entire life. So if the time is right and the place is right, I would love to, you know, take that next step in my career.
Hop over to the other side of the pond. Now, I think we're about to run out of time here. So before we go, I just want to know, favorite players you've played against, right? What's your social media? So, you know, anyone who follows me can go follow you. And if you could shout out, you can shout out anybody. Who are you going to shout out right now? And yeah, don't forget to follow TFC on all social media and all platforms. So go at it.
So for this first question, I think it's pretty obvious and easy for me, playing against one of my idols, if not my biggest idol, Lionel Messi, and, you know, not only getting to do it once, but getting to do it 5-6 times, and, you know, hopefully another couple times this year. It was such a surreal moment that first time, shaking his hand and playing against him. It's something I'll remember forever. As for socials, it's Kobe.Franklin, or Kobe Franklin on other platforms. And who would I like to shout out? I would like to shout out the entire Franklin family, especially Aunt Chips and Uncle Germs for you birthing such a great podcast host. They have done an amazing, you have put their skills into you, and I can see it with every sentence that you speak. So this has been a pleasure, and
Thank you, cousin.
shout out them.